Evening, everyone. Welcome to our Casco Township Planning Commission meeting. We are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Sue will lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sue. We will begin with number 3, the approval of the minutes from March 21st. Are there any additions and/or corrections to those minutes?
The one correction that somebody brought to our attention was Corey Anderson. His name is really Corey Ames. Towards the bottom of the first page.
Okay.
We need to correct that spelling. A-M-E-S.
Thanks, Jim. Any other corrections? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve March 21st, 23 minutes with the correction of Corey Anderson's name to Ames, A-M-E-S.
Thanks, Jim. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion. There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, folks. Approval of the agenda. The agenda looks a little bit different tonight, folks, and what we thought we would do, because we are in the midst of our 5-year development program with our master plan, we divided it into 2 sessions. Session 1 being our basic business that we do with you and with the planners in Casco Township. The second part of the session will be our 5-year plan that we're going to be working on. And with that, I just want to invite you to stay for the second session, and because it's very important to all of us here in Casco. Okay? So with that, we will continue. Communications.
I think I have approval of the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry, approval of the agenda, I better do that. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda April 18, 2023.
Is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Jim. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now we'll go to number 5, communications. And Gina, you have a letter from...
Well, from the board meeting last week,
Okay.
we talked about the storage facilities and barns and things that are standing alone. And so we need to tighten up either in the future, or I don't know if we could do anything for the ones that are already there, but there needs to be a home, a vacated, not a vacated, inhabited home, not a vacant home, with any building that's on the property. Barn, probably a hoop building, any building. And there's quite a few we saw today, right, Joe? That are just there. I don't know if we could do anything about that, but I think it needs to be really tightened up and make sure that in the future, that's not allowed.
I think we already have a lot of that.
Yeah, may I address the planning
Yes.
commission? Okay.
From the podium.
Okay. Where do you live? Push that button.
Bill Stevens, Casco Township Supervisor. What we're looking at is a residence. We're starting to see a trend where people will buy, let's say, an old farm or a house, and they'll want to put up an accessory building. We find out they're not living there. Now, a residence, does that mean that someone has to be, they're living at the house? So we're dealing with a couple of these cases. And it's a little bit vague what it says in the ordinance. I guess we'd like a little bit of a tighter definition on that.
Okay, we'll do some research on that and
Yeah.
bring it back.
Okay.
If I could maybe make a couple comments as the building department clerk. What we found is what Joe just explained.
And I know who you are.
Yes, building department clerk. As Joe just explained, we have in the ordinance book, I believe it says it's accessory to the principal residence. These folks are buying property in Casco, as Joe just explained, but live and have their residency in another community. And so they want to build the accessory building without actually having principal residence and living in those homes.
Now, could they do that on a temporary basis if they're planning to build a house?
It would
And
have
there's
to have
already
to
a
have
barn?
a building permit issued and be in the actual construction. That would be considered a temporary use. And there is a permit that we require and a $3,500 bond in those circumstances. But that is not what we're seeing.
Right.
And then we also have properties that are vacant that already have the accessory building with no home, with no electricity, and people are making application for an electrical permit. And we have such instance in the township right now, and our electrical inspector did not approve that electrical service. And so that's something else we would like, if you could, consider that option too. If it's an empty accessory building with no residence on the property, and he did not feel comfortable issuing, or we issued the building permit for the electrical permit for the electrical, but our electrical inspector did not approve that service. So that's something else that the building department and our electrical inspector would like the planning commission to consider and perhaps act on. But we are really seeing a trend of the empty houses with the accessory buildings being utilized and no one, or being, application being made for that construction, and there's no one living in that house.
And you could tell if there isn't.
Yes, so I think, Roland, that pretty much covers it, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Karen, we'll take a look at that and run that by Steve, and we will come up with something that we feel would be appropriate. And I think most of us feel the same as you do, that something needs to be done along those lines so that we protect all of our neighbors here in Casco. Okay. So thank you, folks. Thank you. All right. Communications, any other communications? Okay. We'll go to number 6. This is just what we call discussion from the floor. And what we are trying to do is allow our residents to address the planning commission for any business that they may have or some questions that you have for us. We'd like to keep this to our Casco Township business, if you will. We are working right now, as I said, on a 5-year plan for our zoning ordinance. So we're going to have that in what we call session 2. And that will be down the line here a little bit, and want you to stay if you possibly can. So with that, we invite you to come up if you have something you'd like to say to the planning commission. Yes, sir.
All right, sure.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, my name's Tyler Meredith. I live at the intersection of Church and Lindsay, and I have a small landscape company that I own. I keep some equipment in my barn. I only have 3 employees that usually meet right on the job. I'm very organized. I don't keep any materials or anything at my residence there. I have a barn in the back of the property where I keep everything inside, what I can, and anything that I don't, I keep behind the barn. Like I said, I try to keep it as organized as possible and very neat over there. And I just want to make sure if I'm doing everything legally, or if not, what I can do to make that legal.
You are zoned,
Residential.
is it residential?
Nutritional.
Are you
That's still
residential or
there?
AG?
I'm not exactly sure what it is zoned for. Yeah.
Yeah. You have a landscape business?
I do. I only have a couple of employees, and I don't have them come to the house very often, but if they do, I everything's organized, you know what I mean? I don't keep anything near the road. What we usually do is, we usually meet on the job. And so really what it is I just keep equipment at my house. I guess it's the best way I can describe it, is I keep equipment at the house, you know, in my barn that's in the back of the property. And I just want to make sure that's okay, is what I'm asking for.
Okay. Probably the best thing to do is have you come in and talk with our building inspector, Roland Suis.
Okay.
Just have him review what you're doing and what is happening with your business.
Sure, yeah.
And we really appreciate you doing this, by the way.
Yeah.
Because we encourage people to come to Casco and have businesses in residential and all those types of things, so. Okay, can you do that for us?
Yeah, when, I'll just call up here and I'll just come in.
Yeah.
And,
And Brenda and Roland are right back there, and they can help you out. And if you need us on the planning commission, or if they think that you do,
yeah,
we'll be happy to sit down with you also.
okay, that sounds great. Thank you
Just
very
spell your
much.
last name for me so I can make sure I got it right.
Meredith, it's Meredith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see you have your assistant with you tonight. Or-
I do, yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Secretary.
I understand that. Okay, any other business?
My name's Paul Rhodes. We bought property on Springborn last year between County Line and Beefway. We were the ones that applied for an electrical permit. There's already a structure there. So I guess a couple things. I have a landscape business as well that we're using there. There's no house there yet. We plan on building next year. And same thing, use it for storage. But we were hoping to get powers to be able to charge stuff or whatever. And then once the permit got issued, we had all the electrical done and the wiring, and then we can't get a final inspection because there's no house on site.
Okay. You know, and that's kind of something that we're looking, as you can tell, we're looking at right now in a number of our locations here in Casco. And what we're not trying to stop business,
Right.
but we want to make sure that all of our businesses, that we know what is happening out in the field. What I'm going to have to, Roland, is there anything else we should be aware of on that, or?
Was the
or
issue at
Brenda?
planning permit
Well,
or at electrical permit?
apparently the property is what, your wife's name, I guess?
Yes.
I understand?
Yep.
But no house on the property at all?
Correct. The house was torn down, I believe, in '07, from what we were told.
You have a house number, but you don't really have a residence on the property at all?
Correct. There's just a mobile garage there, basically.
I know that's ag over there, but I don't know. As far as not having a residence on there, I don't know how you can be allowed to have whatever you have over there right now, really. I mean, this is the problem, right now, so.
Well, why don't we take a look at this? Because it's somewhat new to the planners and to me. And we'll discuss that with the building department and also with our electrical inspector and obviously with Joe.
Okay.
And we'll come up with some kind of resolution.
Okay.
Okay, is that fair?
Yeah.
Just to clarify, you were issued a permit? Just
Yes.
curious, okay.
Yeah, now all the electrical's done and DE's been paid for the service, but I can't get the service installed.
Until he gives you your final inspection.
Correct.
Brenda, did you have something to add?
Well, I believe that Mr. Osterman, our electrical inspector, he did go out there, and from what he observed, and I'm pretty confident in my statement, that it was his opinion that what he saw could have been driven by a generator, a gas generator. And so that you wouldn't necessarily have needed the electrical to do what he observed out there. And he would have to expound on that. But
The problem with those situations, though, you never know what's gonna come in there, you know, as far as a building or whatever is going on.
What type of service, oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I think we need to be careful of that too. We don't wanna drive people to use the generators just because their usage is low, because then we're gonna have generators humming all over town. And, I mean, even if it's a low use, I mean, if we can give a permit, we should be able to give a fine, right?
Electrical inspector.
It's probably not something we're gonna resolve here tonight.
No, that's fine. Just-
Let us kind of get back to you as we dive into it a little bit. That's a little bit beyond the planning commission, but that's okay.
Yeah, you just-
We want to make sure that what happens here is correct.
I understand why you follow the point now, or I wouldn't have done all this. If, you know what I mean, I heard an
What kind of
electrician,
service are you asking for, sir?
it's a 200 amp.
Typical 200?
Yeah, they had me run 2-inch conduit out to the poles, because there's already a pole on site with a transformer and everything from when the house was there. And the drive used to be where we took out all the old wiring.
Okay.
There was no service. The service was from the house before that was tore down.
Mr. Rhodes, you're talking about going to the garage that's up in front,
Yes.
no further,
No.
I don't know what's all gonna work out.
Yeah, let us chat with him,
Okay.
and one of us will get back with you.
Okay.
Probably more so from the building department. We'll work on that, okay? Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, it's just, the one big problem, Mr. Rhodes, by the business, has running a thing on vacant land. And like a lot of people, they don't look into it first, and I told them that, you know, you can't, unless you have a residence and it meets what's in our ordinance, you can't run a business. So it just has to, until he builds a residence, you gotta move the business out of there. And those 2 containers you got, those gotta go. Okay. All right, thank you.
I don't understand how this issue started. Call it vacant, but there's a structure on it. Right. It's zone ag, I thought you were leaving, but I can see the barn on ag land.
Some chickens.
There's ducks there.
Right.
We have ducks in our pond.
There you go.
There you go, there you go. We'll get into it. You know, obviously, there's more things than we know, and then we'll work it through. Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? And folks, for you that just arrived, we divided our planning commission meeting in 2 phases. Phase 1 being the typical planning commission agenda, business that we normally have with our folks here. And because we're in the 5-year plan, study plan for our zoning ordinance, we've made that session 2. So what we're trying to do is move the meetings along, give folks a chance. So if you have some business with the township here this evening, please feel free to come up. If there's something that you wanted to relate to us as far as the 5-year zoning ordinance and the changes and whatever, please wait for session 2 on that if you could. And we're asking you to come up at the podium, give your name and address, and go on from there. So if we have anyone else that would like to speak, please come up.
I would.
Okay?
I believe this is the part. One second. My name's Devin Brumley, live at 4343 County Line. And I'm here to talk about the letters that have been sent about me running a business from my home. So, so are you the only person that is aware of the letters that have been sent? You're Joe, correct?
No,
You're Joe? Joe, nice to meet you. So, okay, I'm trying to, I don't know who here.
Yeah, I'm Keith Telto.
Keith, okay.
Right, and they call me the chairman of the planning commission,
Okay,
so that's what I try to do, and we go on from there.
okay.
Okay?
All right, very good. So I received letters saying that I run an illegal business for my property. I received the first letter in October of last year. I didn't think that I ran an illegal business. I had a small building company, family-owned building company, built houses. And we do have a barn behind our house that we do repair equipment, we do store equipment, and we do move things in and out of there. The first letter, I had a conversation with Joe about it, and he originally thought I was in the residential zone. Okay, I'm in an agricultural zone. So after we had that conversation, he said, "I'm sorry, I thought you were in a different zone." I went over to the agricultural zoning, and I thought I was okay. I briefly read through everything, I thought everything was fine. 4 months later, we got another letter saying, and he pointed out the area where I wasn't, where I was in violation, and it has to do with acreages. I had 2.66 acres, and I guess it's required to have 5 acres to run a business in the agricultural. So after that, I looked at it, and that's the only thing outside of everything else that I saw. So at that point, he said that I had to stop operating immediately, and so at that point I called township, I requested all the zoning ordinances from the time that I bought the property. Now I have to find out what's going on, I have to see it for myself, and make sure that all the way through. So we go through it, I call that, I talked to the clerk at the township, I'm not sure exactly who I talked to. She said no problem, she'd go through the files and email me what I needed. I told her I don't need everything, I just need this area, and just so I can see what I'm dealing with. And the next day, Joe called me again, we had a conversation. Once again, he said that he doesn't believe that I can operate a business. And that's where I told him, I go, look, this is where I disagree with you. I believe that I can, and I mean, that's your interpretation of what's happening here. But now I need to do my due diligence, and I need to go speak to my lawyer. So I talked to a couple different lawyers, 2 different lawyers, and they seem to think that something is just off in the scenario. I've been here since 2010. I've owned my business since 2009. I've operated my business from where I am since 2010, since the one I've been in. I'm not sure if I said, but anyways, I never got any of the information from the township to pass on to my lawyers or anything else like that. And then he told me that he was gonna check with the planning and zoning to find out if anything that we discussed over the phone was actually true. One of the things that it being is that where we are on county line, we're just north of the power lines, just north of 29 Mile.
Jason.
Just north of the power lines, on county line.
Well, sir, let me do this. I don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying to make sure I get all the information.
We're gonna have to do some research, and that'll be up with our township supervisor, so he knows, and we know that you have a concern.
Right.
So why don't we take the time to look at that, and
Okay.
then the township can get back with you.
Okay. Well, how are we going about as far as the information that I originally requested? Because at this point, my last letter is saying that the next time I hear from you guys are going to be from your attorney.
Well, Devin, I'll contact you tomorrow and I'll get you the information you need.
Okay. And so that's what that's it?
At least, you know, with the planning commission, that we want to give you a chance to tell the township what's going on with you and your property. But after that, we have to get to the right people in order to make those things really happen.
Okay, so we'll have a discussion again after you guys do a little bit more research on it as well.
So you have 2.66 acres, and that wasn't a problem before?
I've never had an issue there.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the first, like I said, the first time you ever had an issue. It's not unknown that I have a business there. My neighbors know I have a business. I mean, everybody. What's that?
The wood material, so you clarify.
Oh, so last year, we did have some lumber shipped to our house. Okay, we are home builders. We were going through a lot of issues with the increasing prices of lumber. Okay, so we had a few houses to where we couldn't ship to the direct property. We were trying to save the homeowners from the lumber doubling. which nobody could afford at that point in time. So we're basically just trying to keep ourselves in business, trying to keep our homeowners to be able to continually build their house, because if their lumber doubles and their loan's not for that amount of money, well, it shuts down the entire project. And so I was trying to, and it didn't work out. Honestly, it didn't work out. It saved the homeowners money, it cost me a ton of money, and now it's costing me all this headache with you guys. So I had to ship it multiple times. It was, and I'll never do it again, but at the time, we were just trying to keep things moving. Okay, and so, and that was, the other thing is that by the time I even received the letter, all the lumber has already been gone. And we delivered it to the houses, and like I said, it's not something that we'll ever do again. We changed the way we deal with banks and contracts.
So the lumber was an issue in the letter too?
It wasn't until I didn't find out that the lumber was an actual issue until the second letter. When I had the first conversation, I was basically just trying to find out what the story was. Why all of a sudden it was an issue. I was told that I was being watched, that I had too many employees, that my business is too big for doing what for operating from the way I'm operating. All of never actually having an actual conversation about my business, about what we do, about the amount of employees that I do have. And you can find the amount of employees that I have. It's nothing's hidden there. My employees don't always show up to my house to go to work. They go to the sites. But there are times where I do have somebody come pick up a piece of equipment, or they need a power washer or something along those lines.
Okay, sir, no, and I understand where you're coming from. Let us do this. Let us get the proper people so that the township can get back with you.
That's fine.
And then we'll go from there, okay?
Oh, very good.
To your knowledge, you're not getting any complaints from your neighbors?
I haven't, not from my knowledge anyways. And that was the other thing that I was trying to ask is, nobody's come to me. I talked to all my neighbors. I've never had an issue. And the way I always looked at it was that we have the power lines on the other side. I have one neighbor. There's nobody directly across the street from me. And when I was building the barn a few years back, it was told to me from the old supervisor when we were pulling permits that the house, that because of how close we are to the power lines, where it's not even buildable anymore. So if that house was bulldozed today, nobody can build there again. So
Okay,
the house was I'm sorry.
We understand.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll just have to get back with you, the township will, and go from there.
Yeah, the information you need.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any other comments? Okay, then we will move on. The next item on our agenda will be number 7, a public hearing. And this is to the amendment to Article 2, Section 3, definitions, and Article 14, Section 65. And basically, folks, what that means, accessory buildings of the zoning ordinance to include regulation of hoop buildings. So we need a motion to open a public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing on Casco Township hoop buildings ordinance.
Thank you, Sue. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
I'll second. Thanks, Jerry. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, Karen, can you give us a little update on this, and then we'll ask for some public input?
Sure. So hoop buildings were not currently addressed in the ordinance, and that was a request of the Planning Commission to come up with some type of language so that they were addressed in the zoning ordinance. So the proposed amendment that you have before you today, the amendment includes additional language. The first section of additional language would be in the definitions, Article 2, Section 3. We have drafted a proposed definition for hoop building, which is hoop building / hoop house / fabric building, an accessory building made of but not limited to piping covered with flexible material, does not include air domes. The second portion of the proposed amendment is just additional language to the accessory buildings section of the ordinance. to address specific regulations for hoop buildings. This is covered under Section I, or the proposed Section I. Hoop buildings are subject to the following provisions. A, is built according to the manufacturer recommendation and meets all applicable Michigan building codes. B, is not used to store solvents, gases, or other chemicals or flammable materials. C, such structures are detached structures and subject to the setbacks required of detached structures in accordance with this ordinance. D, hoop buildings 200 square feet and under shall not require a building permit. And E, coverings must be maintained intact. The proposed amendment is just the additional language of the definition in this Section I. We're not proposing any other modifications to the zoning ordinance or the accessory buildings ordinance. We're not removing any language or modifying any other language, just the additional language that addresses hoop buildings.
Okay, thanks, Karen. Are there any comments from the audience? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on with the planners. Planners, what are your thoughts?
I think it's
It's the 200 feet small.
Is that the Michigan, is that the size, the minimum size for?
Did you say, I'm sorry, 200
200 square feet, that's the square feet.
200 feet seems small to you?
I mean, they sell 12 by 12, the problem is they sell 12 by 24s, it takes 2 hours to put together. So,
Yeah, but there are situations there where you might.
400 square feet, 300, just too many.
Okay, is everybody, are we all on top, are we all with this? Okay. Jim was saying that 200 feet might be small in this particular case. What are your thoughts?
I agree.
200 feet is not good.
For a hoop building, it's 10 by 20, it's not even, like, it's not what you would,
Most people use them for carports.
or a small garden, or,
All you would need for anything 200 square feet or under would be zoning for setback requirements. To make sure, as with any accessory building, sheds, 200 square feet or under, that applies to sheds. So I guess that's where the comparison came in. Hoop building shed will only require zoning. And there's a $35 charge, I believe, for our zoning administrator to go out to make sure that the applicant is meeting all the property setback requirements.
But if I buy a 12 by 24, 12 by 20, it's 240 square feet. Now am I building a foundation or a wrap wall around it?
Well,
It just says it's built to the manufacturer recommendations, meets all applicable building codes.
What's the second one say?
it's the,
It's not used to store solvents, gases, or chemicals.
No.
it's the and meets all.
All applicable building codes.
That's
Yeah,
my
but the
question.
building code, Michigan building code doesn't specify whether or not you need to put a foundation under a hoop building.
right, because they're temporary structures, they're not meant to last 20 years sitting there. I mean, they could with new covers, but they're not.
So
Something we're
The
designed.
building code does not specifically, as far as I know, spell out a foundation or footing requirement for a hoop building.
They would require a permit on it and a determination whether or not they do get a footing of some sort. Absolutely.
that's what it says.
It's based on manufacturer's installation instructions.
Well, not only that, I mean, it doesn't always necessarily mean, depending on what the area calls for, or whatever you have. Jack Phillips has got a beautiful hoop building over here. That's pretty damn good size. You wouldn't want to do that without a footing.
No, I'm not
He
saying
put-
that, but
he
we're talking
put
about
tiers
200
there.
feet. And if I buy one out of Casco that's 12 by 20, it's
No, you need a
240 feet.
foundation.
And
But
the
again, that
foundation
goes
for
back-
that would be ridiculous.
That goes back to the manufacturer specification, right? I mean, if you
Is
read
it
the,
or?
Yeah, to a point, yeah.
so I mean, I'm not arguing, I think 200 is small, but I also think as long as we follow meets the manufacturer recommendation. If you buy one that's 240 square feet and the manufacturer recommends that you put it on the ground with some little spiral anchors, that's what the manufacturer says, and you're not gonna find anything in the code, the Michigan Building Code that says differently.
If it's 240 square feet, it will require a full building permit with site plan review by the building official. If it's 200 square feet or less, the only thing we require is zoning, no site plan review by the building official.
And we need to make that bigger, in my opinion.
And that's what
200
it's
feet
gonna
is
do.
too small to go for in front of the planning commission and a full building permit for, like you said, 12 by 20.
For a $250 building.
You spend more on permits than you are in the cost of the entire structure.
And that's applicable for sheds too right now, the ordinance. 200 square feet or less for a shed.
Yeah, which that's common, I mean, I know that's what most townships say for a shed, but.
Okay, and that sounds reasonable. Any other comments? Okay, is it, Nick, do you have another?
I do. It's Nick Rayberg. I live right down the road at 4840 Auburn. My whole thing
I
was.
gotta get you to come up to this podium, or they're, boy, I'm gonna hear it tomorrow.
Okay, I'm at the podium. Sorry. I live right down the road. Most everybody here knows me. My whole thing with it is we're just trying to, I get that if they look crappy, the blight ordinance can go after that, correct? So my whole big thing is starting to squeeze everybody for everything. And everybody lives out here to try to keep their property nice and clean and all that, but why? Is there a major issue with hoop buildings being built all over the place that people are living in, growing weed, growing what, doing whatever with them? Or are people just using them as extra storage because they don't have, like mine, all my outdoor site equipment is storage. That's it, and for covering wood. Because I don't have enough inside storage to keep it all in my buildings. And that's the only reason it's there. And it's just, I'm not gonna spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for permits and site plans and everything else for a $250 building.
And what size is yours?
12 by 24.
And so it's built according to manufacturer
Exactly.
specifications,
Yep.
but not a wrap wall, obviously.
Correct.
It doesn't need a wrap wall, you would think,
And it,
for storage.
I mean, they look better than tarps. I could have everything sitting out in tarps with gray tarps and blue tarps and white tarps. It looks all better in one covering. You can't see it at all. It's just, yeah.
Understand your comment.
Sorry.
Thank you. Well, is there any more comments from the planning commission? Wait, Jim? No. If there are no more comments from the public or from the planners, we're ready to conclude the public hearing, and we need a motion to close it.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on hoop buildings, Article 2, Section 3 for definitions and Section I.
So did you want to, I'm sorry, did you include in your motion to change that to 200, or did you just to
nothing,
close?
Yeah, just to close the meeting.
Is there a second to that motion to close the public hearing?
I second the motion to close the public hearing.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, carried. Okay, folks, you've heard different comments of what some folks believe that under I, that the hoop range maybe should be enlarged. Is there a motion to change that?
I'll make a motion to change the square footage of the hoop building
To
300. Should be more than enough. 400?
Yeah, I get it.
I think you get outside of 400, you get beyond that
20 by 20.
Casco or.
No. That's not good.
So it's 400?
Yeah, right here, Collin.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, carried.
Change it.
I think so too.
There we go. Okay. Well, it's kind of a touchy subject in one way, you know, and I think we all understand that what we were talking about right at the beginning of trying to understand and know what type of buildings are going into our township. And hoop buildings are very popular. So we may have to take another look at that down the road in order to just to make sure of what we're doing and understanding what's happening, okay? All right, let's move on. On number 8 is unfinished business, and we ask you to please see section 2 below. That's when we will have the master plan 5-year update. Any new business? I'm sorry. Yes, new business. Okay, planners report, Karen?
We're working on, drafting at least just the fact-finding portion of the master plan, so the demographic, information from the last census count, so, that's what we're working on right now.
Okay. Thank you. Report from committees. Sure, anything from ZBA or?
ZBA this had a regular meeting, there's nothing new, right?
Nothing new? Okay.
Mr. Chair, can I address it?
Yes.
As you know, I sent out an email, I'm trying to organize a combined zone board of appeal planning commission training session. We had one about 3 or 4 years ago. I'd like to get another one, a standalone session. And I'm either like, it seemed, I know Tuesdays, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, that's usually your busy night, there's a lot of, so we're looking more like a Thursday night. So, I know some of you, like Sue just sent me, when you're gonna be out of town, we have a lot of new members on both bodies, and I'd like to get as many people here to do it. The last training Steve did was very beneficial. And we need to do that every couple of years, reoccurring training. And I'll get in contact with Metro Planning, because St. Clair County used to, until COVID, to have those workshops. We want to see if they want to start getting them rolling again.
That would really help.
Is it something that like it's not geared direct toward our township, is it? It's geared toward just planning in general? So like with other townships, is it something that we would have with other townships possibly too? Like twice a year maybe we have it and maybe China has it or Ira has it or somebody.
Well,
and then like if we aren't at this one, we know in a couple months we could go to that one or they could come to ours. I didn't know if that's,
yeah, I would have to
because
talk.
people miss stuff.
Only a couple of our townships have the same planners, our Ira
Yeah.
and China, but,
'Cause I wouldn't mind to travel if I can't make a date.
yeah,
I
but
don't
I'd like
driving
to,
hour
I'd like to
or
organize something. you know,
specific?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Joe. All right, then let's jump down to session 2, and that is our master plan, our 5-year update. So Karen, what are we up to tonight?
So aside from us gathering demographic information for the plan, we are looking to form and post a public input survey that the public can respond to about the 5-year master plan. I printed out, it's an online survey, so I do apologize, I printed out kind of weird. I was trying to save some paper. But these are kind of basically the general questions that we typically ask. What is your affiliation with Casco Township, resident, business, work in Casco, is there other, how many people live in your household? Have you lived or owned property, or how long have you lived in or owned property in Casco? Where do you work? What type of housing best serves the township's future needs? What strategy would you prefer for residential growth? What would you prefer for commercial growth? What strategy would you prefer for industrial growth? How would you rate, certain qualities of Casco Township, condition of roadways, retail, sewer, property values? What do you like about Casco? What do you dislike about Casco? What do you think are important issues facing the township? What's the best way you stay informed? So questions kind of like this, we wanted you guys to take a look at it. Obviously, if there's any additional questions that you would like to add to the survey, we can do that as well, but we're trying to make sure, we typically try to keep the survey between 10 and 15 minutes long. We know a lot of people get survey fatigue, but it is about their community, so we're hoping that they will take the time to fill it out. there's any specific questions that you would like to add on there, please feel free to share tonight, or if you want to email Steve or I, we can put it on there. But we're basically trying to gather input on, broad topics like residential, commercial, industrial growth. And we're trying to leave a lot of open-ended answers so people can really share their thoughts as well.
And that'll be on, how do we get this?
We will, typically when we do a survey like this, we'll post it on the website, and we'll leave it up for quite a long time, so people have plenty of time to fill it out. Typically, we get the most responses within the first 2 weeks, so I'd say whenever the township would like to have it up, it'd be important to make sure that there's a lot of public advertising for it somehow. Obviously, we'll put it up on the website, but maybe we'll have some flyers here so people are aware. We'll also leave some paper copies too here at the township if someone wants to fill out a paper copy. If there's other areas in the township that you think would benefit from having a paper copy that people could fill out, we can also make sure you're there as well. But if we leave it up, I'd say at least a month, maybe 2 months, allow people to fill it out. And we'll have a specified closing date for it, so people know when the survey will end.
Okay.
I got a question. When are you looking to launch that? It's my first meeting, by the way.
I'm not sure yet. Hopefully soon, maybe beginning of the summer.
The reason I was asking.
Hang on just 1 second, and then we're gonna ask you to come up and.
Okay, sure.
And we just love our podium, so we gotta be.
No problem, get there.
There we go. Okay. Thank you, Karen. Is there anything else that we as the planners can be doing as far as reading material, or something that you may and Steve might suggest for us, like in between meetings?
I'll have to take a look. Like I said, right now, we're just kind of doing the fact-finding portion.
Okay.
I can take a peek and see, if there's specific guidelines or maybe other concurrent plans, county plans maybe to look at to see how, Casco fits in with them.
Okay. And a while back, Steve had sent out like evaluation of the master plan, and there was a checklist that was sent out. I thought it was great, from Michigan State University.
Oh, yeah.
That's the type of thing.
Right, yeah.
So just want to make sure the planners, everyone has that. And we may have sent that out, but I'm just not sure.
Okay. I can double check.
Maybe re-email?
Yeah, we can re-email those refreshers.
Creamy.
So if we could get that out to everyone, that would be great. Then we have, Jim has to have something to do, in between meetings and reading and that type of thing, so. Okay.
Watching the Real Housewives.
All right, anything else, Karen, right now?
No.
Have you heard anything, bear with me a second, have you heard anything from the county or on the corridor or on the Mid-City Highway? Anything happening with the
I
county?
haven't heard any more news yet.
Okay, planners, anything else that you may want to? Okay. All right, we will have some questions from our folks in the audience, so if you would please step up to my witness podium and give us your name and address.
You bet. I'm Lisa Ensign. I'm at 8210 Marine City Highway, Forest Farm, right down the road. Bridgeport, Palms.
What was your last name?
Ensign, E-N-S-I-G-N. It's that fabulous first round with the new white fence. But Karen, I'm a marketing project manager at Blue Cross. So what I was thinking would be a great idea for you, again, first meeting, is Blue Cross, when you get your Blue Cross information, your EOB or whatever, you have stocking stuffers, like envelope stuffers. If when we have our September, property taxes, might be an idea if people, I don't know when your launch is, but if you haven't, a reminder, if you haven't done that, because people obviously open up their property tax. So that's just an idea.
That is something that a lot of communities do. I don't know how to coordinate the printing of that on there or how that would work. I can talk with the township and see maybe how they can get the word out.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I work with Blue Cross Blue Shield all the time, so I can help them work with you or whatever. Well, the reason I came here, not because of that, but obviously I'm very interested in what's going on with the extension of 26 Mile Road. I went to China Township's meeting yesterday. I went to a board of commissioners meeting in Port Huron. I guess there's a workshop on Thursday. Clearly, I'm very interested in what's going to happen here. But I called you Joe today. So just interested, you know, obviously I'm a freak about my horses and just want to know what the plan is for Casco. So I'm listening to everybody. Thank you.
Great, appreciate that. Thank you. And stay up with us, okay, and bring your information.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, this is near and dear to my heart. My first time living here. I'm going to get a little bit more educated here.
Well, it's very important. It really is. Any other comments from the audience?
No, I just wanted to say about notifying the people about the survey.
Could we have your name again, please?
Debbie Lips Carbone, 8014 Lindsay.
Thank you.
We need to make sure it's not just by flyer. It has to go like fluorescent orange, 26 mile, whatever it is, to the houses. Don't expect it to get through social media or picking up a flyer in the vestibule. This is, you know, a lot of people are getting a lot of information, and I've been to the meetings in St. Clair. I'm just going along, listening and everything, but people, you know, are too busy in life to sit and take time to do things, and they're certainly not going to look for things to do. So I just want to make sure if we do this survey, and that the survey is going to have any input on what happens to 26 Mile Road, that we make sure we get this information out, that survey would be part of the decision. There's so many surveys on this whole corridor thing, which actually, you know, was brought to my attention from, I don't even know what, but the definition of corridor does not equal what 26 mile is. Corridor is something that leads from something and goes to somewhere. It's just a dead-end road. So I'm not using the word corridor. It's 26 Mile Road. And I just want to make sure that anything, I'm ready to go house by house, I've done it before, to do petitions, whatever we have to do, to make sure everybody's fully aware and make sure they get their voice out there, if no matter we have to do it for them, you know, to help them along the way. A lot of people just think there's nothing they can do. My family and friends are like, why are you going to all these meetings? I can't change it, I can't. But I can at least go here and spread the word, whatever I have to do, but I don't want 26 Mile Road to change. I don't mind the industrial that's there, and I wouldn't mind a few more industrials, but not 4 lanes and gas stations and everything else. So I just want to make sure the survey, if anything, mail the surveys to the house with postage paid return or drop box off at the township or.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. Other comments? Okay, well, thank you, folks. Thank all of you for coming to our meeting tonight. I certainly got a lot out of it, and I appreciate your input. Planners, are there any other items that you'd like to talk about before we call for an adjournment? Okay, I think we're ready for an adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, thank you. Be safe, go home.